Hey everybody, it's your pal Mike Zombie, and this week we're going to talk about Teenage Zombies from 1959. I was tricked into this. I really was. Now you notice it said 1959. Now the compilation that I bought several weeks ago has a really great photo for Teenage Zombies. It's like a kid going, "Rah!" and he looks all just completely fucked up. Looks like a new movie. So I was like, yeah, man, pop us in, Teenage Zombies. And when it started out, I was like, man, fuck. I really get annoyed with films that go for that grainy look. I mean, that's okay. I don't mind if you're shooting on film when there's grain, but when you shoot digital and you go back in Premiere and you try to make it shaky and have artifacts and make it look like old film, I've never liked that. Never. And I'm like, well, this is going to suck if they're already trying to do this shit because this shit looks old. Then sure enough, it opens up in a diner and some kids are sitting around getting a malt. And I'm like, wow, these kids are really playing it well. They're okay. It seems like they're really portraying this as an old 50s film. So I paused and went to IMDb. Yeah, it's from 1959. So no, fuck me in the face. Who knew? This film is an hour long and it's getting a 2.5 star rating on IMDb. This was on the compilation for a reason. They paid nothing for it. The running time is just, like I said, over an hour. So there's really not much to it. And being 59, this is pre any real Romero zombie. Of course, and I've always said George Romero didn't invent zombies. He kind of gave them the identity we see with them now. He made them fun. He made them personal. He made them people. He didn't invent them. Now, these zombies are more of just homeless people that have eaten Quaaludes. The older zombies just kind of walk slow, like they were just in a stupor, that were under command, usually, and just bumbling around, walking really slow, hunched over, almost as if they've been working on the railroad all the livelong day, and now they're just pooped and a little tipsy. And one thing I will say about 50s films, 60s films, I think you'll have to agree, is that breasts were remarkably pent up differently. Older braziers, I guess, really, I miss those boobs where they're just like large and in charge and out there for the world to see. Now we've shamed women. You're supposed to hide all your dirty bits because, us men, we can't control ourselves, being ashamed of ourselves. But so the ladies in this look like real women, thank goodness. And the guys, something about acting in the 50s and 60s, maybe late 50s, I'll leave it at that. Teenage boys spoke like men. They were clear, concise. They just carried themselves differently, at least in film. And I don't quite know what the difference is now, but it was very no nonsense, very, very confident in their words. And I'm sure it had something to do with how we learned to speak back then. And it wasn't based upon slang. It was really based upon the English language and learning. People could conjugate back then. I mean, this wasn't a joke. And it wasn't lazy. It wasn't pidgin English. And the nonsense people speak today, myself included, I've been caught up in the whole lazy mumbling. But kids didn't speak that way back in the 50s. At least not kids that made it into these movies. Some kids accidentally stumble upon an island in the middle of a big lake. They don't really explain where it is, but I believe this took place in California. I thought it did anyway. Not that it has to be about me all the time, but I thought I saw a California license plate, an old school one. Anyway, so kids bump into an island. They said, hey man, we're going to have a picnic here. And sure enough, in minutes, they've been captured by a strange woman. They end up in cages to be used for experimentation. And these people are very passive. If I'm being stuffed in a cage, I'm going to kick the shit out of someone. In fact, if I'm being held against my will, kicking the shit out of someone, you bring extra tomatoes on my hamburger when I've said no tomatoes, kicking the shit out of someone is real simple. But these four just go, oh no, and get locked away. And it's a very 50s plot. And I don't know if they mention the Red Menace, but it seems to imply that this lady who has these zombies is working on a special nerve gas that turns people into just absolute slobs that just stand there and drool and do what they're told. Kind of what the communists would have loved to have done to us back at this time. And I'm going to jump right through this review because there really wasn't much to it. It's getting, like I said, 2.5, 5 stars, which is probably about right. There was no blood, no gore, decent fighting, but these people get trapped out there and their friends go to the police. The police actually are in on it. They've struck a deal with this lady to bring prisoners and drunks to be experimented on, which is where all these zombies they have walking around. Now, it's all delivered through a gas, which is very easily counteracted by drinking this one solution. And eventually the friends of the friends that get trapped there go out and find them and rescue them with a bunch of punching and, hey, you, come over here, kind of demanding these adults. And a lot of gunplay that's very silly. There really wasn't much to this film. I didn't even see a real point, to be honest. It wasn't bad. I have a special place in my heart for these old black and white shitty movies. I do. Didn't dislike this one. On the Bradinsky scale, buy it, borrow it, or don't bother. This would honestly probably be a don't bother. It didn't pay off in any direction. It wasn't gory, it wasn't bloody, wasn't funny, wasn't fun, but it was watchable, and I didn't hate it. So, that means I'm one movie closer to being done with this compilation. And now I have to wonder what the fuck else they snuck on here that's ancient. So I'm going to find out. That's all I have for this week. It was an hour long, and the plot, one thing I did like about this is that they had no problem leaping through time where they're at a malt shop going, hey, let's go take the boat out to the island. 2 seconds later, they're walking onto the beach like, whoa, that was nice. So they didn't fuck around with having to have dialogue on this long boat trip out to the island. So anyway, you can certainly miss this one, but I did catch it. One guy's named Worf, which is kind of funny because that resurfaced later. That was Steve Conti, actually. And that resurfaced later in Star Trek The Next Generation. Probably spelled differently, but who the fuck was called Worf back then? Seriously, 59? Give me a break. I wasn't even born. Wow, long ago. All right, guys, that's all. Have a good week. See ya. Before I go, I just had a thought. And this is only for Daryl. Bro, I know you've had a rough week, you and your family. And I certainly extend a hug and my best wishes to you guys, okay? I know it's been a rough one. And we spoke last week about some other issues, and these things also popped up. And I know you've had a lot on your plate, your whole family, so certainly my best wishes go out to all of you. And I'm going to leave it at that. Nice. So I'll do the commercial. Episode 200 is almost here. My God, it might be 2 weeks from now. Please get your films you want us to review to us ASAP. And thank you to those who've done so. We're going to get right on that probably starting next week. So, okay, that's all.